What is it that you tend to do when the going gets tough for you? My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is Tenacious. I've had a ton of past life readings from 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭. You can go to 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭 if you want to get a past life crossing with a partner or get a Dharma profile to know what your life purpose is. They're fascinating readings, and they pull up a past life that's relevant to the given topic. And I've had a ton of them, and the word that keeps coming up again and again and again in my readings is the word tenacity. This one developed tenacity in that lifetime. And I do feel like quite the tenacious thing. I feel sometimes like an infinite number of phoenixes, you know? There's so many different ways that I feel life has burnt me to ash. And I've just been ash upon the ground, and I rise like a phoenix, colorful and vibrant from everything that has been a destructive principle in this life again and again and again. And there's not a time in which I will not do that. You know, you can hit me with a baseball bat in the knees 1,000 times, 1,001, I'm going to stand up because I do have a tremendous amount of tenacity. But one of the things I've been super tenacious about, aside from trying to record this video, I do a video on tenacity, and I've had nonstop phone calls from the hospital. And this is probably the 4th recording because the energy and frequency of my being sometimes works to embody it literally in the moment as I'm teaching that given thing. And one of the things that I know about my tenacity and my nature is that I want myself to constantly be navigating this self towards a life worth living and ensuring that day to day I'm standing in the grace of what it means to be living a life that I want to live. Now, something that I know to be true, and here's a simple example of it for you. I'm going to be doing the dishes likely for an entire lifetime. I'm not the type, even if I was a millionaire or billionaire, that I'd have somebody else do my dishes. I'm going to do my own dishes. It's just the nature of my being. I'm tenacious. I got lots of energy. As I do my dishes, what I've noticed in my life is lots of people complain about it. Lots of two-leggeds, myself included in my youth. Ugh, dishes. And then it's like, why have I chosen to have a relationship with this thing that I'm going to have a relationship with and all the way to the grave, under which I complain about it? Why can't I zen out on the dishes? Why can't I connect to the repetitive motion called dish doing, commune with the water, allow myself a minute with my thoughts, and consider it to be a Zen practice, which is something I decided decades ago. And now I often, if there are dishes in the sink that I didn't wash after whatever I did, and I go to eat my lunch or whatever, if there are any type of anxious or unwanted thoughts in my being, I often will get up to go do that thing called dishes so that I can get some Zen in my day, because that is the way I frame and relate to that thing. And one of the things I know about life is that it's going to keep handing you darkened things. Perhaps you've had some experience with that. Heather's had way too freaking many of them. I can't wait to have a conversation with my ally spirits when we get to the other side, where we get to be spirit to spirit, no to no, toe to toe. Hey, why did I do so much of that? Let's talk about it. But I've had so many terrible experiences. I don't wish on two-leggeds. I often pray for others to never have to walk a path like mine. But for whatever reason, my tenacious soul knew I could handle it in the paradigm no matter what was thrown my way. And I've had all kinds of XYZ-ness thrown my way. I've had those that have not wanted me to see my graces and my gifts because they felt like if my light were to shine in the room, they wouldn't be seen. I've had those that have wanted to minimize my graces and my gifts because they feel like I'm in some kind of competition with them, which I never am. I only love win-win. I'm not here to compete with anybody. You know what I mean? I've had people do terrible, dark things to me. I had somebody recently that that thought I was performing black magic on them, which is not a thing Heather Feather is going to be doing in this life. Like, that's ridiculous. I went and told my best friend about it, and she said, that is literally the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life, because she knows me well. She knows that I serve divinity. But it's that aspect that caused me to, not the black magic goofiness, each their own. Awaken, please, with ease and grace, with your false perceptions, if you're going to have them with me. May you awaken to the truth. I hope we all hold that within us. You know what I mean? And most people are not the tiny, small idea you have of them. However, it's like, as I have decided to serve the divine with my life, I've given my atoms completely to the divine. I've given my tongue to the divine. May this tongue speak your truth in the paradigm. I've given my eyes to the divine. May they recognize they only witness the prize that is called divinity. I've given my ears to the divine. May they recognize whatever they hear is for me to attune to the truth of love back of whatever's given to me, because that's what I believe divinity to be. I've given my being, all of my beingness, to divinity. And in that, I once heard that, like, once you give yourself over to Jesus or to divinity or to whoever your divine aspect is, whatever divine creative principle beyond the ego you choose to praise, you can trust everything that occurs from that moment forward is divine and serves you in the paradigm. Now, I have done that, and I did it quite some time ago. And I tend to want to grab the ball back from time to time, but what I constantly recognize is that life is going to hand me some things I don't want. It's going to do that, you know. This past year, it gave me cancer to deal with. It was like, here you go, have cancer. I've been spending my life with lots of depression, lots of suicidal ideation. It's common for autistic people. They're 4 times more likely to be assaulted sexually. They tend to have very traumatic experiences because they tend to be overly trusting. And maybe some of you have learned, it's taken me 5 decades to do it, that there are liars and manipulators and users and abusers out there and people that do not have good intent. And I've always believed we're all love, which I still believe, but many people are dissociated from it, and it's taken me 5 decades to learn. There's a bunch of people dissociated from their truth of love, and they're not operating from their truth, which is definitely an option here at 𝐟𝐸. However, I don't need to dissociate from my truth because I'm having an experience that I don't understand or doesn't feel nurturing or doesn't feel loving. I can remember I am only given that which evolves me, and I am riddled with tenacity. So whatever it is that I'm handed, I am going to stand up and rise again. You know, when the pandemic hit, I was working for a farm-to-table restaurant, and the job ended with a beautiful soul that I dearly loved working for. And I was kind of stressed out. And I talked to my sister, who can be deeply, deeply wise when I'm having these weird moments I don't understand. And she said, what is it you do in your life whenever you have a job change or move or, you know? And I'm like, oh, I always get a job. She's like, yeah, you were delivering food. You did that. And it's like, she listed all these things that I jumped into. And it was true. No matter what happens to me when it comes to finances, I'm going to find the job that's going to keep me having them, because I don't want to live under a bridge. Could, you know, I'm tenacious. I could handle it for sure. I'm sure I've had many past lives with it. But in this one, I love plumbing. I love having the ability to cool down my home. I like a home for my cat. You know what I mean? I've chosen that. And my tenacity and my tenaciousness will always cause me to drive towards that thing I want to have in my life, including a job, including whatever it is. This year, I wanted a lot of alone time. I didn't want to have to tell people in the river of my life how I was doing as I went through chemotherapy. And so I use that tenacity to ask everybody, can I not engage? I don't want to engage. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to talk about how I'm doing. I just want to move through it. And it was super easy. Chemo was like it was like playing opposite day for 4 or 5 months, because chemo for me was the opposite of everything I was ever told it would be. I didn't get sick all the time at all. Matter of fact, I was on steroids 1 out of every 3 weeks. I felt almost violent and aggressive. I'm not made for Western drugs, I'll tell you that much. But I also was like not sick. I was super hungry because of the steroids. I was like, had a crazy appetite all through chemotherapy. And I completed it. Today I learned from my surgeon, I completed it. Thank you. Yay. I received a lot of blessings today. I wanted to get a referral to MD Anderson for my surgery. I did. I'm done with chemotherapy, which is what I was wanting to hear. But I also learned that I may lose a left lung in the process of the surgery that's pending for me. But guess what's fun? You only need 35% of your lungs to breathe. Isn't it crazy? It's so wild. The human body is wild. And if they take one, I'll have 50% capacity, so I'll be ahead of the game still, you know? We get to choose how we frame this thing called life. And Heather has chosen to not be as engaged with a construct called strife. Life is going to hand you some things you don't want to see. Life is going to hand you some things or some beings you don't want to know that be. You know what I mean? But you can also be willing to tenaciously move yourself into a greater state of peace with whatever experience you're handed. You can trust, if you've surrendered yourself to something bigger than your ego and bigger than this matrix, that it's possible that you're always given that which is your grace. Why frown at that which serves your evolution in this place? You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. Heather Feather always loves your thoughts. 𝐬𝐮𝐸𝐫𝐿.